Welcome into the San Francisco 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr., and coming up on today's show, we got to have a conversation about the national media's hate for Brock Purdy. And why do people in general hate on Brock Purdy? Usually people get behind an underdog story, Mr. Irrelevant, final pick of the draft, makes the Niners roster as a third-string quarterback, 17-4 as a starter, 3-1 in the playoffs, but not with Purdy. And I simply don't understand it. Also, an ESPN NFL analyst completely disrespecting Purdy today on the airways. First, make sure you subscribe to the channel because the 49ers Report is growing like crazy. We've just had the best calendar month in the history of this show. And in the lead up to this NFC Championship game against the Detroit Lions, we're pushing out multiple shows per week. We're going live multiple times this week, and we're running it back with another watch party on game day as well. Join the faithful worldwide and the movement that is the Niner Empire here at Chat Sports, and hit that subscribe button right now. So in that 49ers-Packers game, we're going to remember it as the game in which we all aged. We battled and went through a lot of different emotions. It was difficult to get through. By the end of it, we had to catch our breath. And the whole next day, on that Sunday, we were just tired and beat down, but in celebratory fashion because San Francisco able to punch their ticket to their third straight NFC Championship game and their fourth NFC title game in the last 5 years. And in that game, we're going to remember Dre Greenlaw, legendary performance, 2 interceptions of Jordan Love. Christian McCaffrey ran for more than 100 yards. He had those 2 touchdowns. Jawan Jennings came up clutch once again. They were really the MVPs of that Niners win against Green Bay. But we're also going to remember it for how Brock Purdy performed in the clutch. And let's not forget how clutch Brock Purdy was on that game-winning drive. And isn't this how we judge great quarterbacks in this league? How do you perform when your backs are against the wall, having to overcome adversity when you're down? So many people were having the conversation and posing the question, is Brock Purdy ever going to be able to come from behind? Is Kyle Shanahan ever going to be able to coach from behind? 0-30 in the fourth quarter when trailing by 5 or more points, and the 49ers able to end that dubious mark. And on that final drive, Purdy was 6 of 7, with the lone incompletion, by the way, being a drop to George Kittle. That throw to Brandon Aiyuk, as tight of a window where he found a keyhole as it gets in this league. Layering that ball to Chris Conley to push the ball downfield. The run to the left as he got the edge. Those were great plays. And despite Brock Purdy coming through in the clutch, which is where we judge all the great quarterbacks from Joe Montana, Steve Young, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, and others, people are still doing everything they can to not give Brock Purdy credit. Usually people love an underdog story. Purdy was the last pick of the draft 2 years ago. He made the roster as a third stringer behind Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo. They get hurt, and what does Purdy do? Takes the league by storm. Niners go 7-0 up until the NFC Championship game. This year, Purdy overcomes elbow surgery to his UCL. He comes back faster than anybody thought. He was top 5, top 10 in almost every major quarterback statistical category. He went 12-5. What do we judge quarterbacks on? Wins. He did that. Secured the number 1 seed in home field advantage and just led a massively clutch comeback drive where he was 6 of 7 to put the Niners in the NFC Championship game. Can you imagine if Jordan Love didn't throw those interceptions and he had the game-winning drive? How the national media would be drooling over Love's performance in this game? And can you imagine, conversely, if Brock Purdy would have thrown 2 interceptions and lost, what people would be saying about Brock Purdy? He's overrated, product of the system. He only benefits from Kyle Shanahan and these weapons. Was Purdy great on Saturday? No, but he did what we want upper echelon quarterbacks to do. Came through in the clutch after battling weather elements. Deebo Samuel out of the game. And he led the Niners to a victory. A victory that we're all going to remember for a very, very long time. for an organization that has so much history and an organization that has had a lot of epic playoff games to its name. But still, people not impressed. Yet Brock Purdy, 17-4 as a starter, 3-1 in the playoffs, and he's gone to back-to-back NFC Championship games. Brock Purdy is also a whole year and change younger than Jordan Love. And people are being overly critical of a second-year quarterback who's made it to back-to-back NFC title games because he struggled a little bit in a rainstorm. There aren't many quarterbacks who are going to throw the deep ball. It would be idiotic to do so. There are a lot of quarterbacks who are going to throw the check down because that's the smart play in a rainstorm. And that's what Purdy did. Yet people are using that against him. And some of the people out there, they like to say, I don't like Brock Purdy because he was dropped into a perfect situation. He's doing what any of us should be doing in professional life, whether it be sports or work life. He's taken advantage of an opportunity. He still has to execute. How many quarterbacks do we see who are 6'6", bazooka of an arm, who don't have the mental wherewithal of Brock Purdy, who don't have the touch and accuracy, the improvisational skills, the ability to read a defense? And how about this? On that Christian McCaffrey first touchdown run, the play clock went down to 0. You can snap it when the play clock is at 0. And there was supposed to be a motion on that play. When Charlie Warner was supposed to go in motion from right to left, Brock Purdy, with like 2 seconds, 1 second on the play clock, said, nope, stay right there. Got the snap off in time, handed it off to Christian McCaffrey, touchdown. And it's those little nuances of the game, the mature quarterback skills and attributes which make Purdy special, which make up for him not being that huge arm and that huge athlete that we see so prevalent in the National Football League these days. And then you have talking heads like Ryan Clark say something just blasphemous on ESPN. And I don't think he meant this, but he was on First Take, and this is probably why he said it, to impress Stephen A. Smith. Quote, the single hardest thing I had to do this year was act like Brock Purdy deserved to be in the conversations with Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and Lamar Jackson. So that means that when you defended Brock Purdy and when you were impressed by him this year, you didn't mean it. Yet you're going to walk around and you're going to claim to be a real one, that you stand on business, and you're going to call out people who talk shit on you on social media, yet you're on the airwaves, and you're going to say that basically you were lying about any praise that you heaped upon Brock Purdy. That's just phony. And Ryan Clark also said Brock Purdy didn't do anything this year to elevate his teammates. Yet Brandon Aiyuk had a career year and was an All-Pro. George Kittle had his first 1,000-yard season since 2019. The Niners were the number 1 seed in the NFC. And Christian McCaffrey had more than 2,000 all-purpose yards. And Brock Purdy played some of the best quarterbacking, or had some of the best quarterbacking play of all quarterbacks in the NFL. And you're going to tell me that Brock Purdy doesn't elevate his teammates, and some people out there are going to say he's no good. Yet when you look at some of the in-depth numbers, which casuals never do, Purdy was number 1 in deep ball completion percentage. I thought he was only a check down Charlie. He was number 2 in red zone completion percentage. The field gets condensed. It's hard to play quarterback in the red zone. And he was number 4 in pressure completion percentage. Yet he's not good and doesn't do anything to elevate his teammates. Yet when you look at those numbers and additional metrics, additional analytics, they all prove that Brock Purdy is legit, and what he's done this year, absolutely no fluke. If you want to give me a follow on social media, I'm on X at Chase_Senior, Instagram at Chase_Senior, trying to get the X account to 10,000 followers, just surpassed that on IG. Want to hear from the faithful. Can't wait.